think you are walking on solid ground, but beneath your feet, the earth is hollow. In the world's oldest cities, modern life is merely a thin crust, a layer of glass over a tomb that spans for miles. Entire cathedrals, market stalls, and private bedrooms sit in total darkness, perfectly preserved under the weight of skyscrapers. We didn't just build our world after the ancients, we built it on top of them, and in some places, the doors to those forgotten streets are still unlocked. Before we peel back the pavement, hit subscribe to join us as we uncover the history they tried to overwrite. Today, we are descending into the silent, suffocating world of the cities beneath the cities. Take a look at the sidewalk next time you're in an old city like Seattle or London. Notice those small, translucent glass tiles embedded in the concrete. They aren't for decoration. They are skylights for a world that hasn't seen the sun in over a century. In the mid-1800s, cities like Chicago faced a unique crisis. The mud was quite literally swallowing the architecture. The solution wasn't to relocate or rebuild, it was to ascend. Engineers deployed thousands of jack screws to lift entire city blocks, massive hotels, theaters, and family homes, all while people continued their dinner parties inside. The original ground floors didn't vanish into the earth, they were simply abandoned where they stood. What was once a grand front door is now a bricked-up archway in a storm drain. What was once a bustling bakery is now a damp, oxygen-deprived void where the air has been still for 150 years. It's a dark irony. We spent a fortune to bury our own ancestors' footprints just so we could keep our boots dry. But this isn't just an American story of engineering. In Rome, the modern pavement sits nearly 30 feet above the city of the Caesars. Every time a construction crew digs a new subway line, they don't just find soil. They find frescoed villas and silent marble statues staring back at them through the gloom. It's estimated that thousands of Roman homes remain perfectly intact, sealed off by centuries of dust and progress. We like to think of history as a timeline that moves forward. In reality, it's more like a pile of blankets. And we are currently sleeping on the very top layer. In Seattle's underground, you can still see the original storefront windows, but they don't look out onto the street anymore. They look into solid, packed earth. It gives a whole new meaning to the phrase erased from history. We didn't burn these places down. We just walked upstairs and never came back. But if these cities were buried on purpose, what about the ones that were swallowed by the earth itself? Imagine you were doing a simple home renovation in 1963. You swing a sledgehammer against a basement wall in Cappadocia, Turkey. The bricks crumble, revealing not just a crawl space, but a dark, narrow tunnel leading into the absolute black. You aren't looking at a storage cellar. You've just rediscovered Derinkuyu, a subterranean metropolis carved 18 stories deep into the volcanic rock. For centuries, an estimated 20,000 people lived, slept, and worshipped here. All while the surface world forgot they existed. It wasn't a cave, it was a machine for survival. The deeper you go, the more the air feels heavy with the weight of the millions of tons of earth above you. There were ventilation shafts reaching 180 feet down, schools, wine cellars, and oil presses. But the most unsettling part, the doors. Massive circular stone discs, weighing over 1,000 pounds, that could only be rolled shut from the inside. These people weren't just living underground, they were hiding from something. They lived in a world of torchlight and whispers, listening to the muffled footsteps of invading armies passing just a few feet over their heads. The irony is staggering. Great empires rose and fell on the surface, kings were crowned and cities burned, and yet, right beneath the horse's hooves, a civilization was breathing in the dark. And then, one day, the breathing stopped. The tunnels were abandoned, the stone doors stayed shut, and the dust of the surface covered the entrances for nearly a millennium. It makes you wonder about the empty spaces on our modern maps. If a city for 20,000 people can stay hidden for 1,000 years, what else are we currently building our parking lots on top of? We aren't just uncovering ruins. We are finding evidence of a fear so great it drove humanity into the dirt. But as deep as Derinkuyu goes, some buried cities weren't built for survival. Some were built for something much more eternal. If Derinkuyu was a fortress for the living, the heart of Europe hides a fortress for those who never left. Beneath the romantic, sun-drenched streets of Paris lies a mirror image of the city above. It is a labyrinth stretching over 200 miles, but it isn't filled with people. It's filled with their remains. In the late 18th century, Paris was literally overflowing with the dead. Cemeteries were so packed that walls began to burst, spilling skeletons into the basements of neighboring homes. The solution was as cold as it was efficient. For 2 years, under the cover of night, horse-drawn wagons carted the bones of 6 million Parisians into the city's ancient limestone quarries. Think about that number for a second. 6 million. That's nearly 3 times the population of modern-day Paris, stacked neatly in the dark. The irony is bone deep. The limestone used to build the iconic monuments above, the Louvre, the Notre Dame, was pulled from the very same holes that now house the city's ancestors. The city above is literally built out of the space where the city below now rests. Today, tourists walk through a small curated section of the catacombs, but beyond the keep out signs lies a vast, unmapped network of tunnels. Illegal explorers, known as cataphiles, spend days navigating by headlamp in a silence so thick it rings in your ears. They find secret cinemas, makeshift bars, and chambers where the air hasn't moved since the French Revolution. But they also find the dead zones, areas where the mapping fails and the flashlights die. In a city built on 6 million souls, getting lost isn't just a risk, it's a return to the foundation. But Paris isn't the only place where we live on top of the departed. In the sands of Egypt, we are finding that the great monuments aren't just standing on the desert. They are the lids to a much deeper, much more mechanical reality. Deep in the Egyptian desert, near the oasis of Fayum, lies a mystery that makes the Great Pyramid look like a starter project. The ancient historian Herodotus once described a labyrinth so vast it contained 3,000 rooms. He claimed it surpassed the pyramids in scale, complexity, and sheer ambition. For centuries, modern historians dismissed his accounts as a desert mirage, a tall tale from a bored traveler. But in 2008, a team of researchers used ground-penetrating radar at Hawara. They didn't find solid bedrock. They found a massive, grid-like structure of stone walls and colossal chambers buried deep beneath the silt. A subterranean world that matches Herodotus's impossible description almost perfectly. And yet, shortly after the discovery, the project went silent. The site remains sealed, protected by the very earth that reclaimed it thousands of years ago. It's a recurring theme in our history. We find something that challenges our timeline, something too large to explain, and we simply stop digging. Is it a lack of funding? Or is it because the contents of those 3,000 rooms might force us to rewrite the human story from page 1? We treat the earth like a finished book. In reality, we've only read the dust jacket. In China, entire Neolithic cities have been found preserved under layers of river silt, their inhabitants still clutching jade ornaments. In Mesoamerica, LiDAR technology is stripping away the jungle to reveal tens of thousands of structures we never knew existed. We aren't finding lost cities. We are realizing that the world was already crowded before we ever arrived. But the most chilling realization isn't what is buried in the desert or the jungle. It's the realization that the ground you are standing on right now has a memory. We like to think of buried history as something far away, in a Turkish desert or a Parisian tunnel. But the truth is much closer. The average depth of a city's archaeological layer increases by about 1 meter every century. Dust, decay, and the relentless urge to build new mean that in just a few hundred years, your current living room could be a basement. In 1,000 years, it will be a mystery. Future archaeologists will stand where you are now, scraping away at the dirt, wondering what kind of people lived in such primitive, glass-walled boxes. They will find our plastic, our steel, and our bones, and they will build their parks right on top of our skulls. It is the great, silent irony of human progress. Every skyscraper is a tombstone for the structure that stood there before it. We don't live on a planet. We live on a graveyard of ideas, architectures, and forgotten dreams. The civilization buried beneath us isn't a different species. It's us, just a few layers down. The unexplained isn't a ghost story or a conspiracy. It's simply the parts of our own story we were too busy to remember. Next time you walk down a quiet city street at night, listen to the echo of your footsteps. Notice how the sound rings a little hollow. That's not the wind. That's the space beneath the asphalt, waiting for its turn to be remembered. History isn't behind us. It's directly beneath us, holding its breath, and the crust is getting thinner every day. If you want to keep digging into the secrets the world tried to hide, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications, because the deeper we go, the more we realize. We've only just scratched the surface. Thanks for watching.